43 points against Golden State, and then he followed that up with 49 on the Timberwolves. As in just 2 nights, he made NBA history, becoming the first Laker ever to open a season with back-to-back 40-point games, and only the 4th player to do it in the history of the league, joining Anthony Davis, Michael Jordan, and Wilt Chamberlain. Luka isn't just hot. He's off to one of the best individual starts we've ever seen to a season. But as incredible as Luka has been, it's all been on an individual level. The Lakers are now 1-1. And while Luka's been carrying the show, the real question is this sustainable? And what would it actually take for the Lakers to be one of the best teams out in the West? Because if you watched those first 2 games as closely as I did, I think the Lakers actually revealed their blueprint to win. And spoiler alert, the most important part was not Luka Doncic. Before we dive into that, we need to talk about how Luka is playing right now, because he looks different out there. To start off the game against Minnesota, Luka hit a patented fadeaway over Rudy Gobert while trapping Jaden McDaniels on his back. A shot that comes from pure balance and control. That's the kind of pop that wasn't there regularly last season. Then on the very next possession, Ayton sets the screen and Luka steps into a 30-footer and buries it like it's nothing. A few plays later, it's the same action again, only this time he snakes around 2 screens and fires a dart to Gabe Vincent in the corner for 3. Then, on an island against Jaden McDaniels, he blows right on by, absorbs the contact at the rim, and finishes off the glass. The pick and roll with DeAndre Ayton has been a weapon so far this season. Here, stepping back and drilling another 3, then taking the contact from Mike Conley for the N1. Here, punishing a Minnesota defensive breakdown to get open for another 3. Then, he pulled up from the logo with it off a Vanderbilt screen, knocking it down. And here, he got to the mid-range area again, hitting another clean jumper over Jaden McDaniels. That mid-range and paint game is the biggest difference from last year to this season so far. He simply didn't have the conditioning to live there consistently. So, over the off-season, Luka has clearly decided to change that, getting into the best shape of his life, and we can clearly see it in effect over these first 2 games. And before his Minnesota game, his performance against Golden State truly reminded everybody just how much he can carry an offense. Here, one-on-one against Jonathan Kuminga, he got to his mid-range jumper and knocked it down. On this play, Reeves draws 2, Kuminga loses track of Luka, and he buries a 30-foot jumper off the catch. Then, Luka continued to get back to that same mid-range spot over and over, cooking Payton, Curry, and then even fading away over Jimmy Butler after a Rui Hachimura handoff. Then, he started to attack downhill. On this one, drawing the foul on Kuminga and then finishing through the contact. Plays like this just weren't happening frequently enough last season in the purple and gold, because he just did not have the gas left in the tank to pull it off. But this season looks totally different. It felt like the guy had like 8 of these N1 plays in the game, and I think he actually had 5, but he was getting into the painted area time and time again, which just makes him feel so much more dangerous than he did last season, putting real rim pressure and foul pressure onto an opposing defense. But then came the superstar moment. A step back over Jimmy Butler from 30 feet right before halftime. And these are the plays that makes Luka Doncic, Luka Doncic. Because there is nobody in the game who can stop that. What really stood out from this Warriors game was definitely how much he was getting inside, drawing contact, finishing plays, and how he looked overall way more explosive and confident than just a season ago. It showed in everything he did, fighting for the loose ball to then find Ayton up top for the alley-oop, backing down Edwards and then skipping it out to Reeves for a 3, and hitting smooth turnaround jumpers in the 4th quarter, which is exactly when he used to run out of steam. But this year, Luka looks fresh deep into games. He's still pulling up from deep, living in the mid-range area, attacking the basket, finishing through contact, and flat out controlling everything, even in 4th quarters, which had been a problem over the course of his career. But now, the guy's in shape. he's locked in, and he's clearly playing with the chip on his shoulder. And with that, we've seen Luka put up some historical performances to start off this NBA season. But that brings us to the team side of things. Luka has been dominant, but individual greatness does not automatically translate to wins. The Lakers lost to Golden State despite 43 from Luka. Even though they did make a late push, Golden State just felt like they were in full control. The cracks were really obvious. Outside of Luka and Austin Reeves, the offense was a complete mess. They shot 25% from 3, missed 11 free throws, and turned it over 19 times. DeAndre Ayton looked uncomfortable. Rui Hachimura didn't get enough touches, and the bench felt invisible. And against a well-oiled machine like Golden State, it felt like night and day. But then came the second game against Minnesota, and things really shifted. The Lakers were down by 4 points after the first quarter, but the role players would come in and completely flip the script. Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt brought defensive fire, and Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura finally gave Luka some legitimate help offensively. Austin, in particular, was incredible against the Wolves. 25 points and 11 assists, creating 52 total points with just 1 turnover. That's incredible ball control. Through the first 2 games, AR is averaging 25.5 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds on 68% true shooting. That's an insane stat line. And what makes it even more interesting is his contract situation. Reeves turned down the extension this offseason, opting to bet on himself. And if he can hover around the low 20s, continuing to shoot with strong efficiency while dishing out about 6 or 7 assists per game, he is going to get paid this offseason, potentially forcing the Lakers into a tough decision. But let's get back to this game. Luka still had 49 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists on 61% shooting. But this time, Austin Reeves was able to ball out, and most importantly, Rui Hachimura chipped in a hyper-efficient 23 points on 77% shooting. It wasn't just a 2-man offense. They had a real offensive core in that second game. And against one of the league's best defensive teams with the Wolves, the Lakers were able to put up 128 points, winning every single quarter after the first. Across the board, Los Angeles just played better. They cut out their turnovers, going from 19 in the first game to just 10 against Minnesota. They also brought more physicality defensively, and they actually competed on the glass, only losing the rebounding battle by 2 against the Minnesota team that's usually pretty dominant on the glass. JJ Redick made some smart tweaks as well, opting to use Smart and Vanderbilt more strategically, only playing them when 2 offensive creators were on the floor, giving the Lakers some pretty good two-way looks. The pair only combined for 5 points, but defensively they were everywhere. Vando had 2 steals and 2 blocks, and Marcus Smart added 2 steals of his own, as their energy on the defensive side of the floor gave this team real balance. For the first time this season, Luka and Austin did not have to dominate every single possession. They were able to orchestrate instead of carry, because they were getting good contributions from the role guys. And that's the biggest takeaway of the Lakers season so far. Luka Doncic cannot be the entire offensive system. He can for sure, and he will be the centerpiece, but he cannot be the entire structure. In the second game, he generated 67 points by himself, but it came within the flow of the balanced attack. The Lakers scored 128 instead of scraping by for 109, and that was because of Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves stepping up. DeAndre Ayton is also going to be a major swing factor in all of this. He was nearly invisible in Game 1, finishing with just 10 points and 6 boards. But in Game 2, he was more active, posting 15 and 8, while looking far more engaged overall. His buy-in has always been a big question mark over the course of his career. And if he's now locked in, it gives the Lakers a real defensive backbone. But if not, it's still going to remain a real vulnerability for them over the course of the rest of the season. But before we look too far ahead, there's already a telling stat from these first 2 games that hints at what the Lakers might be wrestling with. Their 2 most utilized lineups so far could not be any more different. The starting 5 with Luka Reeves, Hachimura, Ayton, and then Gabe Vincent at the 2, has been getting absolutely torched defensively, giving up a ridiculous 155.4 points per 100 possessions, while posting a brutal minus 31.1 net rating. They're managing to score well with that starting 5, but they can't stop anybody. All you've got to do is make one adjustment, swapping out Gabe Vincent for Marcus Smart, and suddenly they turn into an elite defense, allowing just 89.5 points per 100, good for a plus 10.5 net rating, but the offense now falls to a miserable 100, which shows the trade-off that they're going to be dealing with all season long. The team has elite specialists on both sides of the floor, but very few two-way talents, and that could be the storyline for the whole season. And honestly, this is why I really think Marcus Smart should be in that starting lineup for the Lakers. His on-off numbers through just 2 games have been ridiculous, and it does match what the eye test was telling us. With him on the court, the Lakers are a plus 30.3 for net rating. That's in the 100th percentile league-wide. Their offensive rating sits at 123.6, which is actually amazing. And defensively, with Marcus on the floor, they have a 93.3 defensive rating, which is fantastic. Even the little things like the turnover margin looks completely different with Smart on the floor, as the Lakers were forcing turnovers on 24.4% of their possessions. Basically, 1 in every 4 trips down the floor, they're able to force a turnover. That's incredible. Even if he's only averaging 6 points per game on 25% from 3, which are his numbers so far, the impact is still undeniable. If that 3 ball starts to fall anywhere near league average, it's going to be flat out impossible to keep him out of that starting 5. And then when LeBron James comes back, that's going to be a real conversation between Smart, Rui Hachimura, and maybe even Austin Reeves. Because when you've got Luka, LeBron, and Reeves together, you're probably going to need Smart's defense to avoid getting blown out and ran off the floor with basically no defense to speak of in that lineup. For the rest of this season, they need to avoid those 2-man offensive games where they get basically nothing outside of Luka and Austin, at least until LeBron returns. And that leaves us with a massive question. Is this the start of a dominant season where Luka makes a real run at the MVP because the Lakers are truly winning games? Or is this going to be another year where Luka has to carry far too much and they're stuck fighting for a play-in tournament spot instead of home court advantage? Let me know what you think in the comments below. But on the other side of the NBA, we just saw an all-time great performance, something we may never see again, as VJ Edgecombe just put himself in a conversation with LeBron James, Allen Iverson, and Wilt Chamberlain after just his first NBA game. And if you want to see how he did it and what this means for the Sixers the rest of the way, then you can go watch that full breakdown video right now.